Hey folks, Wes here. Today I want to talk about the state of crafting body armor and rings and just like what I think the state of gearing will look like in general for 0.4. Because they're removing the omen of homogenizing exaltation, it will be much more challenging to get high-end gear quickly. This was clearly pretty overpowered, especially when you involve like greater exalts, double slams, etc. So it makes sense why they removed this. Personally, I wish they had just nerfed it somehow, maybe done like fossils or our catalyzing omen, which gives you like an increased chance to hit the same modifier and not necessarily a guaranteed chance. Regardless, we got new stuff to work with from 0.3, which I think should make crafting a lot easier. Basically, as you go around the map and you collect armors, you can use your Perfect Orb of Transmutation and Perfect Orb of Augmentation. Um, Hopefully these aren't changed and the floor still remains 70. But essentially, you should be able to get double tier 2 or double tier 1 um, prefix and suffix on your body armor, helms, boots, gloves, etc. I've currently only have these body armors and these boots. But body armor crafting is very similar to helm crafting, so I expect that like you can kind of interchange these things. But boots are a little different, but they're still like very close. And then gloves, I think, will be very different. So I'll talk about gloves a little bit later on in this video. Um, After we do rings. For amulets, I'm not going to even try to craft on amulets now. I think unique amulets and unique gloves will end up being very popular in this meta because getting good gloves should be much more challenging, like getting good rare gloves. So I kind of expect to see different unique gloves pop up. Maybe Howl makes a comeback, Hands of Wisdom actions, Power Wraps, drop from Zesht, and like Astromendus. Probably I could see that being like a good stopgap for a while for a lot of builds. But anyway, I digress. So basically, you're going to run around the map. You're going to pick up normal body armors. You're going to hit them with your perfect transmutation and perfect augments. And you're going to try to get a good resist, a good defense. Or on your boots, you're going to try to get movement speed. And then kind of the same deal. We're just cheaply trying to craft these things right now. This is like early game crafting. No whittlings involved here. So you're just going to slam them out with your fire resistance or any resistance, but all of these have cold or lightning, so we just have fire. And you're just going to slam them all out. And you're looking good so far. And from here, this is kind of the step where you can like choose to continue or stop. And this is where like the randomness is, because basically you can guarantee 3 good mods that you want on an item, or maybe not guarantees, maybe not the right word, but statistically over time, as you like farm up normal bases and slam them with the magic items, you'll eventually get double tier 1, and then a tier 3 resist or is not like bad necessarily. It's not going to be the highest end possible, but it's definitely not a bad modifier to hit. So after that, you're going to double slam these things and just hope that you get good defenses. And like basically you're just trying to continue the defense stacking and not necessarily there's really not much else to it. These two modifiers are a complete lottery. Now the reason we're not doing desecrates earlier on is because Abyss is no longer core. There should be less players doing Abyss, which means there should be less Abyss items to craft with, meaning that they'll be more expensive. Now, I think Abyss will be pretty popular to do for most players in endgame mapping, but just the same, not every single person will be doing Abyss like they currently are or they did do in 0.3. So I think the desecrates will be more expensive, thus you probably want to use them as like the final step in your crafting here. You could save the Abyss for a prefix. I'm gonna save the Abyss, the desecrate Abyss currency for the final suffix. The reason for this is because getting like chaos resist or like double intellect or something like that feels a lot better than hitting the like um the other like random mods you can get in the suffixes, which don't really help, like reduced ignite duration, or on boots like reduced shock or reduced chill duration, things like that that don't really feel like they help your build too much. So the desecrate is like hopefully going to help the suffix out a lot. But anyway, we'll just slam these out and like hope that we get decent stuff here. Um, and you can see we hit like tier 7 max life. And that's just because the life has so many rolls, and we're using greater essences or greater exalts, because perfect exalts are going to be pretty expensive early on. Greater exalts should be cheaper, but you could do this with like normal exalts too. And you're really just hoping to get multiple defenses, and because the defense tag all have the same weighting, you're decently likely that it's like equal chance to do well. So like early on, this chest probably very, very nice. Um, Same for this guy. We hit thorns here. And this is like the only real bad modifier that you can hit. I fully expect to hit tons of thorns in the prefixes going on early. And then in boots, you're hoping to get like defenses, but you could get life, you could get mana. So, hopefully you don't hit those things. And of course, on these boots, we hit life and mana. So maybe this is good for some builds. I don't know. 35% MS probably sells really well early on anyway. And they made exceptionals a little bit worse because you can no longer stack all of the 5% increased movement speed stuff here. So I think 35% move speed boots are going to sell a lot better early on. And so at this point, you can choose, do I want to desecrate anything? This one with the T7 life is probably going to be a skip, but maybe early on this is okay. This one is the best one that we made out of all of these. This one I would for sure desecrate the last mod, and then I'm hoping to hit any kind of resistance or attribute on the unveil. I think it's also very likely that these Omen of Abyssal Echoes will be rather expensive as well. They're already decently expensive now, and they were expensive early on in the league. So I think like making sure to save your desecrations for like items that are actually good that you can either use or sell will be very, very big. This one hit thorns, and it's rather unfortunate because we got double tier 1 here. Maybe even with the thorns, this is like okay to sell or like equip, because double tier 1 on these guys ends up being like quite a lot of energy shield still. Even early on, you can see here. It's basically we got like the best case scenario with like the worst case thing, but 800 energy shield is still a lot of energy shield early on a body armor. So this one actually probably is worth desecrating as well, just to see what you can get in the suffix. And you could equip this yourself, or you could probably sell that. This one, maybe life and mana is good for somebody, but 35% movement speed with double resist probably worth selling. So I think boots, you can pretty easily like say, yes, I want to go do that with the boots. So let's just go unveil them and see. And then after this, we will talk about ring crafting, which is fine, I think. I think breach rings will be really, really nice to do early on. We hit deflection here. I guess deflection's pretty good. Is this tier 1 deflection? Seems pretty good to me. Seems pretty good to me. This one, I don't know. We'll say like, oh, no one's going to buy thorns, but 800 energy shield is still 800 energy shield. So maybe I want to wear this myself. This is pretty bad. And then we got the hybrid strength int. Maybe this helps me out if I'm like a wolf player, dragon player, something like that. And then the boots, we're just hoping for like strength int. We'll take it. Not mad about it. So I think this is how like early game crafting will be without having to use whittlings. You're just playing like you're playing your luck. You're just trying to hit the best possible modifiers with greater exalt slams. But you can pretty easily get at least 3 good modifiers, 1 good prefix, two good suffixes, or if you want to slam in like greater defense for like guaranteed tier 3 defense on your stuff, you could do that as well. Personally, I think capping resistance is a little more mandatory than getting the defenses. But that's just personal preference, really. So I think this is all gonna be fine. That's like how that'll end up looking. But let's move on to the ring craft next. For the early ring crafting, I think you're basically gonna want to try to start with a breach ring with fractured lightning damage to attacks if you're playing an attack-based build. For casters, this will be different. I think my old caster crafting video will actually still work in essentially the same way for like mana stacking stuff. But for attack-based builds, without homogenizing them, and it's a little bit more challenging to complete the prefixes, and it's a little more challenging to complete the suffixes, but it's actually not as bad as 0.2. So basically, in 0.2, what we did was we took Chaos Orbs on a Fractured Lightning base, and you spam Chaos Orbs until you hit like tier 1 or tier 2 damage with attacks. So I might speed this bit up like quite a bit here until we actually hit, so, or we can stop early on like a lesser, like tier 3 is maybe a stoppable point. Tier 5 is not good enough. So we might speed this portion up here. Okay. So we hit tier 2 in maybe like, I don't know, 50 some chaos, maybe like 56 chaos. That's actually pretty good. Tier 2 is not an easy modifier to find. But from here, since we have Catalyzing Omen now, we can slam on like 40% cold modifiers. And at this point, we're hoping that the Catalyzing Omen can help us hit cold damage with attacks. And since we're trying to be cheap, we're going to use Greater Omens, and we're going to use the prefix to get the prefix. And we're just hoping to hit cold damage with attacks. And if we hit like cold percentage, that's a brick, and we'll see what happens there. With accuracy is like no good. At least for most builds, maybe Amazon's one accuracy. But at this point, this is what we did in 0.2. You go for the annul. And we got to keep the fire damage with attacks. So we can try again to slam on cold damage with attacks. Okay, mana. We kept it. That's good. And basically, you just do this over and over again until you hit an acceptable attack modifier. In 0.2, this is really annoying because we only had regular exalts, but now we have greater exalts, so it cuts out the bottom modifiers. And with the Catalyzing Omen, this should be easier to find the like cold damage that we're looking for. And we hit tier 4 physical. So at this point, in this craft, I would be very tempted to stop here, especially early on. This is a really solid ring base early on. And from here, what we can do is continue to slam in Catalyzing Omens. So basically what we're going for now is we're hoping to hit the cold resist and then Ellie resist as well on this slam. So we're using cold catalyst with catalyzing essence and the greater exaltation to slam on 2 modifiers here. Really hoping that this will like push in our favor towards getting cold resist and all elemental resist. And we hit double tier 2. Awesome. Very good ring for early on. Extremely good. And at this point, once again, we haven't used any whittles, so early on the catalysts are decently expensive. I expect catalyzing exaltation to be decently expensive, and greater exaltation is probably going to be fine. Greater exalts maybe cost like will be like 1 greater to like 10 or 1 to 15. I'm not sure how that'll go. But the next part, the collarbone, will be pretty expensive. But because we have jewelry here, we can do any of these like Ulamon modifiers to guarantee get like chaos resist or something else. So we can look here real quickly and just see. This is also under the assumption that these modifiers don't change too much. But we could look for something like Nomamu, which could give us skill like strength and intellect, strength and dexterity, or we could go down to Kurgal. I guess Amamu also has fire and chaos resistance, so there's like two good modifiers in there. You're pretty guaranteed to hit with two good modifiers there. Maybe you want recover mana on quick kill, or increased mana leech, or a cooldown recovery rate might be nice for like druid stuff potentially. So maybe Kurgal is pretty good, but Ulamon should guarantee you lightning and chaos resist, or life on kill, or skill speed. So I think Ulamon will end up being like the best possible thing for the like desecration. So let's go ahead and do that. And then I'm not actually sure. I know it's 3 modifiers. It should be guaranteed to hit. But let's just make sure that we guarantee it with the Abyssal Echoes. Once again, Abyssal Echoes I feel like will be rather expensive because the Abyss stuff I think should be more expensive. But you can see here we had the maximum life on kill, strength and kill, and lightning and chaos resist. I'm going to take lightning and chaos resist. But here's like a pretty good ring that we are able to craft for 56 chaos, 2 annuls, 4 greater exalts, 4 catalyzing omens. And maybe we got lucky here by slamming on the physical damage to attacks, but like early on, I think this ring will be very, very good. Should be able to sell for like quite a lot, or you should be able to just equip it if you need it. So, you know, either way, if you're playing trade, if you're playing solo self-found, I'm not sure how you'll get the chaos orbs in solo self-found or the greater results, but like you can see the crafting is still very doable for rings, for body armor, for helmets, for boots. Gloves, I'm not too sure on. Amulets, I think, are fully cooked. Getting an amulet like this, you have to chaos spam or the spells or the melee or the minions or proj speed. Same way that we had to in 0.2, or the same way that you have to now with like projectiles. And then getting double crit is also very, very challenging. I don't know how that's going to happen. But the prefixes, I think, aren't too bad because you could add defense modifier, catalyze the defense modifier, you know, and then we have a perfect essence of defense to add on like a good defense modifier as well, the like increased global defenses. So it will be tough to get +3, but getting an amulet that can like help you along, I think will be okay. But also, I think it's very possible that unique amulets will be pretty sought after. Weapons, the wands, I think, completely cooked. Wands are going to be very hard, will require many whittlings to be able to hit good modifiers. Probably you're going to fracture spell damage and chaos on the lightning skills or something like that. Foci, same difference. This illegal mod of +3 all spell skills is going to be gone. They're also reducing these, so I think Foci will be very much more defensively focused. I'm not really sure about that. Martial weapons are as hard as they are now. The martial weapons are still difficult to craft. Requires many whittlings, many omens of light. I think they will be like of the same difficulty. And then belts, kind of same dealio, whatever. So I think crafting isn't as bad as I thought. I think it'll still be much more difficult to hit the like top tier mods. And like when you want to hit those top tier mods, you probably want to start with a like fracture, chaos spam on like another good modifier here, and then like slam on the last good modifier for like helmets and for your like what's this chest. Boots too. Boots you probably want to start with like chaos fracture on movement speed or chaos fracture on like energy shield because this is a really low modifier. but it'll still take many whittlings to get there. Gloves, I don't know about gloves, to be honest with you. Gloves seem very challenging again to be able to make like really good gloves. Um, and belts, I think belts are mostly going to be used like in either Ingenuity or like Editor or something like that. But yeah, that's what I think like the state of crafting will be. I think that's how you can craft a lot of these items. Obviously, there are many ways to craft good items. So, like this ring craft that I just did here, there's definitely more ways than what I have showcased to like do this in 0.4. And also, there might be like new crafting mechanics in 0.4 that we don't know about. From everything they showcased, it all seems to be corruption related, and I'm pretty corruption like averse, so I will most likely not be corrupting very many items, and I'll probably be selling that currency. But who knows? Maybe we'll see. Maybe with like jewels and uniques, I'll be corrupting those a lot. Actually, corrupting uniques is pretty fine for me. But yeah, anyway, that's what I think the state of crafting is going to look like in 0.4 in the state of the gear as well. If you have any questions about just like generic crafting things, more than happy to answer in the comments. So hit me up there. Anyway, we'll see you in the next video. Peace.